I was having y'all about Rico from Street Scores, and I know there's some offensive coordinator stuff that we need to talk about, but I'll wait to talk about that tomorrow. I feel like this is a good time to just take a day break off of all of that, and let's just go ahead and do a Rico report where we talk about literally everything else going on throughout the Commanders organization or outside of it, all in one video. A nice little Rico report. We're going to discuss so many random things. First of all, the fact that Daron Payne is now officially a Pro Bowler now that Aaron Donald has already announced that he will not be able to play in the Pro Bowl and participate. So now Daron Payne is an official Pro Bowler, not an alternate. He's officially in, and we got to talk about some stats and why he should have been in already. Maybe not necessarily over Aaron Donald, but maybe over a couple of the other guys. Also, we got to talk about the fact that the Commanders may play a game in Germany in 2023. We got to talk about how that's possible and who we'd be playing if we end up doing that. Also, the Commanders open up the first sports book in an NFL stadium through Fanatics, which is historical and very interesting. We're going to dive into that. Also, the Commanders are sending quite a few coaches to the Senior Bowl to be coaches for the Senior Bowl. And y'all know, if you look at our past drafts the past few years, even dating back before Ron Rivera got here, we usually take a couple of guys, at least a handful of guys in the draft from the Senior Bowl. So the fact that we're sending this many coaches there and the positions that we're sending them for is very interesting. So we're going to dive into who we're sending to the Senior Bowl and how that may affect who we end up drafting. Again, we love drafting Senior Bowl guys. I mean, just this past draft alone, 5 of our draft picks were guys that participated in the Senior Bowl. So this could be very telling. Also, make sure you vote for Charles Leno. We'll talk about that towards the end of the video, and also some random stats as well. Again, this is one of them Rico Report Street Scores videos where we're just talking about literally everything else that's going on with the Commanders. We're going to take a day off from the offensive coordinator talk. I'll discuss all of that tomorrow, and the guys that we brought in for interviews today, and maybe some tomorrow and some future ones is coming up as well. But today I want to take some time to just talk about literally all of these things that the only common relation between them all is that they all have something to do with the Commanders. But everything else, each topic is just completely random from each other. And I know y'all like videos like these, and I like making videos like these, so it was only a matter of time that we ended up doing one of these. And I'm gonna try to do these more consistently, where I just report on a whole bunch of random little or big stuff at the same time. But before we dive into all of that, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell next to the subscription button so you get notification immediately. And every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one, make sure you pull up every Sunday for the Commanders call-in show live stream every Sunday. Just because the Commanders season is over does not mean the Street Score season is over. I have the call-in show where y'all call in, you voice your opinion, you ask whatever questions you may have. It doesn't even necessarily have to just be Commanders and franchise quarterback, Sam Howell, offensive coordinator, free agency draft. You can call in and ask about basketball, talk about basketball, whatever you want to talk about. The call-in show is there for y'all to be able to talk about whatever you want to talk about. So make sure I pull up every Sunday for that. And without further ado, let's get it. All right, so first of all, let's start with the fact that the Commanders may end up playing a game in Germany this season, somewhere overseas. That's insane. I would love to go if I could be able to, and if we actually end up getting officially announced to doing so, because the Commanders' name isn't mentioned in this list. We're just a candidate because of a certain factor. First of all, let's just start from the very beginning. The NFL announced the designated teams for 2023 international games: Buffalo Bills in the UK, Tennessee Titans in the UK, Kansas City Chiefs in Germany, New England Patriots in Germany, and the Jacksonville Jaguars in the UK as well. And the reason that we're affected by this is because we have an away game, a road game against New England. And so there is a chance that, it's not very likely, but there is an honest chance that we could end up being that game that ends up playing the New England Patriots in Germany, which would be very interesting. Definitely get in the comment section, let me know how you feel about the potential of the Commanders playing in Germany. Would you be able to go? Would you love to go? Do you think it's a bad idea or a great idea? I know Commander Nation, Redskin Nation, Washington Football Team Nation, Burgundy and Gold Nation, let's just say it like that. I know we're everywhere, and I already know and can confirm that we have fans out in Germany, so I'm pretty sure they would be very happy about that. And it's an away game anyway, so as long as we don't lose a home game, I'm perfectly fine with it. Moving on, Washington's Daron Payne was named to the Pro Bowl to replace Aaron Donald, who told the NFL that he is unable to participate. And I mean, this was a long time coming, man. Payne was initially selected as the first alternate amid his breakout season with 11.5 sacks. And I mean, I guess that's cool that he was the first alternate. If one guy dropped out like an Aaron Donald Donald, he would officially be in, which is what ended up happening. But I feel like he should have been in automatically before Aaron Donald dropped out. Again, not necessarily over Aaron Donald, but over one of those other guys. But now that's really cool because we have Jonathan Allen, Terry McLaurin, Tress Way, Jeremy Reaves, and Daron Payne. So we are now sending 5 Pro Bowlers to all of the Pro Bowl festivities and things like that. And I think that's going to be really fun. The only bad thing is the fact that Daron Payne got all pro votes, and the fact that he is officially an NFC Pro Bowler, like for real, and his agent is definitely going to use that in contract negotiations, which scares me. But outside of that, I love the fact that he officially made the Pro Bowl because, again, with 11.5 sacks, leading our team in sacks. I believe he was 3rd in interior defensive lineman in sacks in the NFL, in like top 10 in defensive stops. So he's great in against the run and at getting to the quarterback. And the fact that he was an alternate just surprised me. And just to remind you, this year's Pro Bowl will be held in Las Vegas, Nevada on February 5th. The NFL will be hosting Pro Bowl games that will culminate in a flag football game between the AFC and the NFC, which is going to be pretty interesting. I'm actually tuned into that. Moving on, the Commanders, well, technically FedEx Field has opened the first sportsbook in an NFL stadium ever. Like, this is very historical. This is through Fanatics Sportsbook, and that's really interesting. Especially since, I mean, we have all of this new ownership stuff coming up and new stadium stuff. We're trying to figure out where it's going to be, who's going to end up buying it, and how it's going to look, all of that type of stuff. And so they did something like that just to end up potentially having to move in a couple of years, but at least they're getting the ball rolling, and the fact that we even have the license to do that is really interesting. Peter Haley released an article on it. He said Ron Rivera doesn't think the Commanders' unsolved ownership situation will affect the franchise's football operations. And in a Friday session with reporters, team president Jason Wright expressed a similar viewpoint when discussing how the murkiness may impact this side of the organization. For us, Jason Wright said, quote, "For us, it's very simple, and it's for me, it's for Ron, nothing changes. Build a healthy business, build a winning team, and that's all there is to do. Literally nothing else to do," unquote. He also said, quote, "The best thing we can do is to continue to produce a healthy business, a great football team underpinned by healthy culture that allows it all to sustain. That's the best thing we can do for stability," unquote. P. Haley went on to say that approach from Wright undoubtedly helped him in his work with Fanatics, which can now boast that it has installed the first ever sports book inside of an NFL building. The space, one that Wright described as having a sleek atmosphere, features 8 betting windows, more than 20 betting kiosks, a full service restaurant, and a bevy of TVs, and will be open 7 days a week from 10 a.m. to midnight. But per league policy, no bets can be placed on dates that include a Washington home contest. And Jason Wright went on to say, quote, "It's a down payment on a revamped fan experience. They deserve high quality spaces like this," unquote. And this is really futuristic. This is very innovative. This is very creative. Again, no other team in the NFL has already done this. We're the first to do it, which is really cool. And this could be the type of thing that attracts a really good owner to potentially buy this team. We'll see. But Jason Wright also went on to say, quote, "For younger folks and Gen Z, this is almost the primary way that people engage in the game." He has a good point. "Bit by bit, we want to create things that feel like a situation that the fan of today wants to be in. We want this to feel like a community asset," unquote. And I think this is a really good idea. I think this is really cool. It is really innovative. The main reason I like it, though, is the fact that nobody else has done it yet. And I like being ahead of things and being the trendsetter. So this is really cool. Moving on, the Senior Bowl is populating the coaching staffs with assistance from NFL teams, of course. And the Commanders are sending 4 guys over there. Ben Jacobs on special teams, Ryan Kerrigan on defensive line, Travell Wharton for offensive line, and Jennifer King for running back. And again, like I said in the intro, they're going to have a close-up look at a lot of these top prospects in the draft because they're going to be the ones literally coaching them during this Senior Bowl process. It's not just a game. There's a bunch of practices, and that's really the biggest part when you're evaluating players and stuff like that. They're going to get hands-on, one-on-one ability to coach these guys and talk to them, see where their head is at, see how they look against other Senior Bowl level competition and stuff like that, other top draft prospects. So this is going to be huge because, again, we love to draft Senior Bowl guys. Even just from this past draft alone, we drafted 5 guys that participated in the Senior Bowl. Darian Mathis in the 2nd round, Brian Robinson in the 3rd round, Sam Howell in the 5th, Cole Turner in the 5th, and Chris Paul in the 7th. Maybe we still draft those guys if they participate in the Senior Bowl, but it's quite likely that we don't. For Darian Mathis, yeah, probably we still draft him even if he didn't participate in the Senior Bowl, maybe. But Chris Paul, maybe even Brian Robinson, and I'm not even sure about Sam Howell if they don't participate in the Senior Bowl, and if we don't take the Senior Bowl as seriously as we do, because a lot of teams don't necessarily take it as seriously as the Commanders do, we may not have drafted those guys. So this is very important. I love the fact that Kerrigan is getting an opportunity to see all of the talent there up close, which takes me to my point that, okay, you have Ryan Kerrigan, and I believe he's just straight up the D-lines coach, like not the assistant D-lines coach or nothing. And he'll be there with a lot of the top names coming out of the draft. And the reason that D-line may be important is because you never know. If we're not able to pay Daron Payne long term, do you consider drafting a defensive lineman like later in the draft? Are we looking at potentially not paying Montez Sweat long term when his contract comes up? You may want to look at edge rushers later in the draft if we have to. I would love to pay all of those guys long term, Daron Payne, Montez Sweat, Chase Young when he comes up and all of that. But there's a chance that we don't, and we may want to start looking at some of that talent in that group as far as later in the draft. Don't do it like first 3 round type of thing, but we may need to keep an eye on these guys. And again, Ryan Kerrigan will have hands-on coaching with these guys because he's literally the D-lines coach for the Senior Bowl. And then you also have Jennifer King, who's our assistant running backs coach, but she will be the running backs coach for the Senior Bowl. And you never know, man. I don't think J.D. McKissick is here next year. And I love Antonio Gibson and Brian Robinson, but you may want to bring in another guy, again, later in the draft as well, that can be that third running back. I liked what I saw from Jared Patterson a lot in that last game. And I liked what I've seen from Jonathan Williams over the past couple of years in doses. But you never know, man. You may want that explosive J.D. McKissick mold type of guy from the Senior Bowl if you may want to take somebody like that later in the draft. And then most importantly, we have some guys for the offensive line, and this is huge, man, because this could lead to whoever we end up picking in the first or second round, maybe the latest third round. We have Travell Wharton on the offensive line. He's our assistant O-line coach, but he will be the official offensive lines coach for the Senior Bowl. Like, he's running the show. The Texans are sending offensive assistant Gerard James to be the assistant offensive lines coach for the Senior Bowl. But our Travell Wharton will be the offensive lines coach. So he'll have hands-on experience coaching a lot of the top offensive linemen in his upcoming draft, especially at the Senior Bowl. Most notably like a DeJuan Jones from Ohio State, if we may end up wanting to draft him. So that's really interesting. And then you never know, Ben Jacobs on special teams, we may be able to find a returner because Dax Milne is a safe option, but he's not a great option. You know, I call him automatic fair catch. I mean, towards the end of the season, he started to have some better returns, but I still feel like overall he's just an automatic fair catch, and it would be nice to get somebody explosive back there. But the priority is to have somebody back there that doesn't muff punts. But is it really just that hard to find somebody that doesn't muff punts and can actually flip field position at the same time? If it is possible, Ben Jacobs has a chance to find that guy at the Senior Bowl. And we may invest like a mid-round or late-round draft pick on a guy just like that. So this is great news that we have this many people involved, man. For the Senior Bowl, we have the running backs coach, the defensive lines coach, the offensive lines coach, and the special teams coach. That's amazing. That's big. Moving on, we're starting to get to the more random stuff. Really interesting news. Josh Harris, who's reportedly, according to JP Finley, the most likely candidate for buying the Commanders from Dan Snyder right now, he invested in Ripken Baseball. 76ers and Devils co-owners Josh Harris and David Blitzer completed an investment in Ripken Baseball in Cooperstown All-Star Village. Harris and Blitzer confirmed a partnership with Cal Ripken Jr. and Bill Ripken to support and accelerate Ripken's baseball vision of bringing big league experiences to young athletes by investing in systems, techs, and facilities. So this is interesting because, I mean, this guy just seems like he's kind of spread thin everywhere, just like Todd, where it's just, how can you focus on the Commanders when you're still making all of these other business decisions and focused on so many other things? I would prefer an owner that's solely focused on the Commanders. I want a guy with experience owning other teams as well, but I mean, Josh Harris just recently investing in Ripken Baseball. Again, it's not that major of a move, but it is interesting. Next up, Charles Leno is among 5 nominees for the NFLPA Alan Page Community Award. Others are DeMar Hamlin from Buffalo, of course, Jonathan Jones from New England, Darren Waller from Las Vegas, shouts out Darren Waller, an Atlanta product, and Devin White from Tampa Bay. Each receives a $10,000 donation from the NFLPA for his foundation or charity of choice. So I hope Charles Leno wins, man. I doubt he does, because DeMar Hamlin's story is crazy. But the main thing I take away from this is the fact that Charles Leno is even up there with those guys. The fact that his name is even in the same circle as those guys like that, that's huge, man. You could tell that man really does a great job contributing to the community and things like that. I'm sure the DMV definitely appreciates him, man. They got to. And then lastly, It's really random, but the Commanders were one of the oldest teams on offense last year and one of the youngest teams on defense on a snap-weighted basis. 11th oldest overall on offense at an average of 28.1, but then our defense was an average of 26.3, which was one of the youngest. Really, really random, but I happened to see that on Twitter, and I just felt like y'all should hear something like that. Again, I try to bring as many random advanced statistics and random facts as I can in these Rico reports, and there goes the one right there. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please leave a like on this video if you liked it, if you learned anything. Definitely let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video, all of the random topics that we talked about, all of that. And of course, man, I appreciate all the support, man. Shouts out to all of my sponsors, especially my Pro Bowl sponsors' names you see scrolling the screen right now. And again, please leave a like on this video if you liked it, if you learned anything. I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.